joining us today, I have a good friend. We met a number of years ago, and we happened to meet in India. We share a number of common passions. So, Carlos, I just want to thank you for joining me today and for taking the time just to share a little bit of your journey. And to get into it, before I ask you your 5 questions, do you maybe just want to introduce yourself and share a little bit of your background, and then we can start with the questions.
Well, first of all, Craig, it's very nice to see you. It's been a while since we don't see each other, at least through the screen, and hopefully we'll see soon in Bahrain. So that would be excellent. So thank you for reaching out to me. And well, my name is Carlos Palacios. I am a subject matter expert in internal corrosion. That is my passion, and that's what I have been doing for the last 27 or 28 years. I am a mechanical engineer, graduated from the University of Tulsa, where I did my BS, Master, PhD, and postdoctoral work, and all related to corrosion. As a matter of fact, when I started in corrosion, the university did not have a course in corrosion, so I had to take it remotely. But remember, remotely at that time, Zoom didn't exist, Teams didn't exist, none of these virtual things existed. So it was a camera pointing to the fingers of a professor from another university that I got my education in corrosion. So I basically was self-educated in corrosion. And I did, in a way, I would say, I guess I did good work that eventually the University of Tulsa now has a corrosion course, which I was the founder of that corrosion course at the University of Tulsa, and it's part of the mechanical engineering curricula. So, and I've been working in the field for a long time. I started my career back in Venezuela, in the Venezuelan oil industry, and where I was very much exposed to the field. I am a field guy. I like to be out there. I like to be touching the pipelines. I like to be getting full of oil. I like to be there working with the operators hand in hand, because it's the only way that you can get information from them, and for them to help you whenever you need information, whenever even you need to implement recommendations. Is the only way. You gotta be there. You gotta be, sweating their daily lives at work with them. Is the only way. Right now, kids like to be in an office doing everything from an office. Good luck to them, because they will never get recommendations applied, because you need to be there, as I said, sweating with those guys, making sure that you are one of them. When I started my career, of course, I had a PhD, and everybody was, oh my God, the PhD. But it turned out that this PhD was right there with the operators, getting full of oil from my tip of my head to the toes, to my toes. And it is a true story, by the way. Yeah. It is true. So
it's wonderful, Carlos, to hear that. I think we're living in a crazy time in the world when it comes to the balance between practical and theory. The theory is hugely helpful in solving problems, but it's so good to hear about your practical journey to getting there. Carlos, I just want to kick off on our first question. It says, can you remember when and where we first met? Do you recall that?
We met in Corcon. I believe one of the first times that we met in Corcon. And we had a blast. I love Corcon. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to go back, but I love that venue, and that's where we met. And then we did a lot of work together for Gale, when Gale started doing the Jung, which was a beautiful also initiative by Mr. Karnatak. And I think they are still going at it, perhaps not at the same passion as you and I put together at that time, but it's still going, no? But it's been a great deal, no? So
it's been very good. The second question I have for you is, can you just recall, from that, you've touched on it already, can you recall the collaboration we had during those Jung Say Jung? Because I think, if I recall correctly, it is the Hindi for the fight against corrosion. with the same word, but it's just the pronunciation. Can you maybe just mention what the format of that was and what the aim or hope was with that program?
Well, I mean, as you just mentioned, Johnson Young means the fight against corrosion, as you just mentioned that, and the whole idea was precisely to make sure that the people, at least the people from Gale, but the thing is that this started in Gale, but remember that we took it to Corcon, so it didn't stay within Gale. I mean, it expanded, it even expanded in such a way that in the US, we also talked about Johnson Young, and we did some specific symposia talking about Johnson Young in the annual conference in the US. So it was a way in which we came to start putting in people's mind the importance of maintaining the integrity of the line due to internal and external corrosion, because as you and I know, if we don't do that, we may be killing people, in which has happened.
Yeah.
We've had a few incidents that unfortunately people have died, and the root cause of the accidents was due to either internal or external corrosion. So corrosion is a science, and it's a science that unfortunately, where 2 + 2 is not equal to 4, sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 3. So it requires a lot of experience, a lot of training, and that was the whole idea behind this Johnson Young, to put in people's minds the importance of corrosion and everything associated to corrosion, so that people could at least know or ask the proper questions to the experts. And in this case, the experts were yourself, myself, Pat Stevens, Ashish Kera, etc. No?
Yeah, I think you made a very good point, Carlos, just in the fact that the forum, and I think this is something that AMP and even the chapters should revisit, is that at these conferences or events, to create an open forum which is not a program track. So what I'm saying is, when you have a very structured conference, you can almost exclude questions from the floor, and then your experts creating material as the conference develops. So you end up with very structured streams, and specific issues can be excluded. What something like Jung, and I've raised this with the new chair in India for AMP, and I'm really trusting that it's going to grow and that the doors will open again. Let me move on to the next question, and I think you touched on it in your introduction. And it's not so much how you ended up in asset integrity, or how did you end up in corrosion and asset integrity, but it's more specific, because you're an incredibly passionate person, Carlos, is why did you end up choosing corrosion and asset integrity? Because if I just give you a moment to think about it, so why did you choose asset integrity and corrosion? Because something in it must have drawn your interest or got you to develop that passion.
Well, one of the things is, of course, as we just mentioned a few of those, and we want to maintain the fluids, if you will, inside the equipment. We don't want to be damaging the environment. First of all, we don't want to be killing anybody. We want to make sure that we are running a safe facility. And when we're talking about integrity management, it's not only in the oil business. I mean, it's everywhere across every single industry, okay? Every single industry. Because, I mean, we are exposed to high pressures, high temperatures, fluids that may be detrimental to the environment. So we want to make sure that things are taken care. So I see myself as a physician, but a physician for pipelines.
Wonderful.
The unfortunate thing is, Craig, that pipelines, they don't talk to you. I mean, when you go to the doctor, the doctor asks you, how do you feel today? And then you go, well, blah, 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 blah. Pipelines or equipment, they don't talk. So it requires a lot of the understanding of the processes, of the fluids, and it's a never-ending. I love this corrosion thing because it's a never-ending science, if we want to call it a science, and it's never-ending because no one has the truth of how corrosion happens. We still need to kind of understand many of the mechanisms of corrosion. So this is a beautiful area, and we, as we were talking before this conference or this seminar that we're doing right now, Craig, people have gone and retired. So there is a gap right there. Now it is your job and my job to close the gap while we can, no?
Yeah.
And that's why I am in this business, because I love what we do.
Yeah.
It's an everyday challenge. So you I never get bored with my doing my corrosion stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing, Carlos. You know what it is showing me as well, and I'm learning this as I open this platform to showcase other people's skills, is that I need your help. You may need my help. There may be people you and I will have to engage with in the near future because we don't have insight to everything. So where in the corrosion industry, people have operated very individually. They're trying to protect their turf. They're the uber subject matter experts. Yes, you are a subject matter expert. You have a PhD. You have a 30-year track record. You've solved amazing problems, but you made an amazing point. You still don't have the full body of knowledge because everything interacts and changes. There's so many variables. So very, very helpful to see that that perspective that you have. The next question I've got, Carlos, is and these become the why questions. So you've answered the why you got into corrosion and asset integrity, but why did you start CIMATQ? Why did you start that business? Because I think that's an interesting story.
Well, CIMA is, the name CIMA comes from Corrosion and Integrity Management, and TQ is for Total Quality. And the reason I started the company is because I did work for many oil companies before starting my own, and I worked for Shell, for example. I worked for Petrobras, etc., and even for chemical companies such as Baker Petrolite at that time. Now it's Baker Hughes. So I've seen the need of because when you work in a specific company, you work with kind of, blinds, and you don't see the whole perspective because you are focused on your work. But when I started doing this corrosion thing, there is so many things that we need to address, and the best way for me to help in different areas was to form my own company and become a consultant. When you become a consultant, you think you don't have a boss, but now you have many bosses.
Carlos, that is such a good point that you make, because if you think about it, if you were in a large organization, you've got one or two reporting lines if you work across divisions, but normally it's upwards. Now you are consulting upwards, you're consulting downwards. There may even be people that are more junior to you that you report to because you need their cooperation. So
there you go.
It's an amazing exercise. Forget the business. It's an amazing exercise in humility.
It is, and that word humility, that is very important. We need to be humble. I mean, not because of the work. I mean, in our lives, in our daily lives, because I mean, you don't. I mean, the more you know, the more you know you don't know anything, Craig. So you have to be humble and make sure that you listen to those guys when they're talking to you, even if they are juniors, because they may share an idea and say, "Oh, I didn't think about that," and especially in our area. Craig.
That is so valuable, Carlos. It just goes back to that gap that I mentioned before. I do think that this younger generation does think out of the box because they don't come almost like from the industrial revolution of education, corporate thinking. They think out of the box. Many of them do, and they ask questions that I find the seniors from 20 years ago didn't ask. So they may have less knowledge. Their questions are more creative. Their questions are not boxed. So it's an amazing experience. Well, that's
Yes.
my last question for you for today and our time. And I'm going to actually miss having to end this conversation. But why do you continue to teach formally for AMP, but also you teach and you hold workshops and you're an author of a book, which I will include a photograph of or a link to or something. We will discuss that later. And why do you continue to teach, my friend?
Well, Craig, I mean, I cannot die without sharing what I know. We have, I mean, as we mentioned before, Craig, you and I and every professional in our area, in any area whatsoever, have, in my opinion, the moral responsibility to teach others what we know. We cannot just die with everything that we know in our brains, because then the worms are going to go and the worms are not going to do anything with our brains. So we need to share our knowledge. And that is why I also wrote this book. And as I mean, the book, when you read the book, is basically my experiences, and it's been written in a very colloquial language, because it's sort of like telling my story through integrity management in the upstream installations in the oil business. And that journey, my journey, is what I have in that book. How do you approach? How are the different things happening as you move through the whole process? And the idea was, I said, listen, I have a couple of kids, and I at least I owe that to them to say, okay, this is what I know, kids, this is what I have. But it turns out, Craig, that in our area, we don't only have our children, we have many kids that we touch. We may touch a few lives when we are teaching, when we are preaching our knowledge. And even if we, as I said before, when we are in a classroom, if we touch one person, that's mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. And that's what I like teaching. I like to give them my knowledge and also receive knowledge, because it's amazing when you are sitting in a classroom, you also receive knowledge. So that exchange is what I love doing, and that's why I wrote that book, and that's why I keep teaching. And you and I know that teaching is not the best income, but as you just said it before, it's not all about the income. It's about the passion that you have for your career, for your profession, and we are all passionate about it.
Yeah. Carlos, this has been a wonderful conversation. And as I said, folks, when you hear this post, please just check the comments on LinkedIn. I'll have a link to Carlos's personal LinkedIn profile, and I'm sure we'll also have a link to get more information on his book. And I would strongly recommend it. I'm very privileged to have a copy of one of the first printed versions. And so, Carlos, I really just want to thank you for firstly being an amazing friend, and then secondly for folk that listen to this this post in a few weeks' time. If you're looking for someone with integrity, someone with passion, and for someone that can direct your thinking before you rush out and engage on any RCDA program, ECDA program, or combined corrosion type investigation, I would strongly recommend that you get hold of Carlos, because he will share an honest opinion. He will share with integrity that's backed up with 30 years experience. So I strongly recommend that you make contact with Carlos. And as I said, Carlos, I don't know if you've got any words to share as we finish, but thank you so much for joining.
Well, no, thank you, Greg. And all those words that you just said, I would say back at you. I mean, like you said to me, I'm saying it back to you. I mean, if you are as we were talking before, the reason we are in this business also, and people like working with us is because of our professional honesty, and that includes you, myself, as you just mentioned, and many others that are in this business. So thank you for those words, but those words now from me to you, back at you. So